Competition been like? Because these three guys are talking about how good it's been, but from your standpoint, what's it been like?
Oh man, it's been amazing to watch. I mean, these guys are working hard. They're pushing each other. You have a lot of different type of skill sets in the room. So it's been really interesting to see those skill sets emerge at various points this spring. In certain situations, you got some power in there, got some bigger bodies, you got some speed in there, and some wiggle and some finesse. So I think we kind of, with all of our skill sets, we can cover a lot of territory.
You lost two really good pieces out of that room last year, and both those guys, Jawar and Isaac. I guess, go through your mental process of, okay, I got to replace these guys and got to go out and find a couple guys in the portal, and then you got a couple recruits. What was your mental process and the coaching staff of trying to fill this room back up?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely lost two special players in Jaws and IG, and definitely wish those young men the best in the upcoming draft. And certainly, we wanted to try to, plug holes. We wanted to try and make sure we have the proper depth at that position because, as you know, it's a rugged position and there's a lot of injuries that those guys sustain throughout the course of the season. So you have to have some depth. And, we really felt as though we needed to go into the portal, and we were able to find two really good backs and that are hungry to come in and work and prove and to accompany them with Maurice and Bama, coming back. Both those young men have a lot of promise as well. So, then the two freshmen, obviously Isaac Brown is here right now doing a great job. He's got a very unique skill set, and then we'll have Duke Watson, join us this summer. But certainly love where this room is from a depth standpoint. Feel like we can do a lot of damage over the course of the season because of the amount of depth.
Kind of building off of that, Jaws and Isaac, they were two guys where their game kind of more so predicated on speed and elusiveness. And then you bring in two guys in Penny and Donald who are a lot more physical and a lot more aggressive in their running style and nature. How does that kind of impact the dynamic of the offense and what you can accomplish and what you want to accomplish?
I think, we were very successful running the football in 2023. And I think that as people start to study us and prepare for us, I think they're going to be aware that we have some depth back there. And considering how we played last year, they might, want to pack the box a little bit more. And in those situations, I feel like you've got some backs back there, like you mentioned, Penny and Don, some bigger, more physical backs. And those games where they're going to be loaded boxes, we're going to need some physicality. We're going to have to create our own space. At times, and in order to do that, not that smaller backs can't do that. It's just when you have a bigger, more physical back in those scenarios. You can create your own room more frequently, as opposed to trying to find the space necessarily. So I could see definitely us being prepared for those type of situations that will come up. Inevitably, they'll come up. NC State played us really tough last year. Defensively, they crowded the line of scrimmage. We had a tough time really gaining some yards. And so, there were a couple of teams that tried to do that. So I want to make sure that we have the proper pieces in place so that we have answers for those scenarios.
Chris, when you were out recruiting, how much, looking at last year, what you all established in the run game, how much did it help when you were out in the portal talking to players like, hey, this is what we did in year one, this is what we can build off of? How much did you kind of see that when you were out recruiting, like it was beneficial?
Oh, man, it's been amazing. The reception, the interest, those guys, they're very observant. And I think in an era where it almost feels like at least the NFL is trying to devalue the position, it's almost a shining light when they see two men or two young guys get an opportunity, both go over 1,000 yards all purpose, both go to the combine, go to all-star games, have a chance to be drafted. That shows a commitment. That shows a commitment to the position. And speaking as a former running back, it was refreshing, especially in this day and age where we just want to go empty and 5 wide and spread the field. That's great, but also I've got backs in the room that have the skill set to also deploy in the passing game and be factors in the passing game. We talk about those things, being complete players, being able to be good runners, be effective in the passing game as a receiver as well as pass protection. So trying to make the most complete backs that we can make, but for sure, those two kids gave us great visibility out there in the market as far as the transfers and in the recruiting high school kids.
Donald was in here, you heard him, he was talking about good players over here, and they come together and they're creating something special. It seems like from the way they're talking, they kind of feed off each other. Have you seen that in practice where they're kind of supporting each other and pushing each other?
I have. And those kids, they do a good job. They really, they've gotten close. Very similar to the two kids last year, and Isaac and Jaws. These kids have really banded together, and I give Maurice Turner credit for that. I mean, him and Bama, the guys that have returned, kind of ingratiating them, welcoming them with open arms. And we've hung out together, so we've got to spend some time outside of the facility, just getting to know each other. What are you passionate about? Who do you do this for? Why do you play the game? So I think when you dive into guys like that on a personal level, it creates a sense of chemistry, and those young men have grown closer each practice, and it's just been heartwarming to see them push each other every day in practice and in the meeting room as well.
What do you have with Penny?
What do I have? I think he's a fierce and ferocious runner. He's one that you have to kind of pull the reins back on him sometimes. He's like he's just like a raging bull at times. You know what I mean? And I haven't seen that level of physicality in a while. And I think that he gives us an element where you could really wear some people down if you really want to, because they're just not going to want to tackle 230 pounds over and over for 4 quarters. And surprisingly, he moves around well. He's got good agility. He sees it well. He's a natural runner. Got to come along a little bit more in pass protection, just the eyes, hands, and feet, just trying to coordinate those things. He's working at it, but he's got the frame to be a 3-down guy, and he's got the 1-2, and he's coming in and he's watching tape and asking questions. So I think he can be something special. We just got to polish him off a little bit, but he's definitely got a lot of ability.
And on that note, does it kind of warm your heart a little bit when you see him in practice and he just runs right through someone?
It does. It does. In certain situations, obviously, but he's just got a level of physicality, and his passion for the game is it's been good to watch and see him grow. Struggled a little early on just to kind of, digest the information. Such a transition from his previous school, but he's done a really good job diving into the playbook and kind of asking the guys questions, and he's been much better. But yeah, he has a way about him sometimes. He can be a little bit of a magnet sometimes in space, and I say, man, sometimes we can go ahead and take the vertical route and make these people make business decisions. You know what I mean? So, now he's doing a great job.
Jeff doesn't often mention freshmen, especially during spring. He pointed out that Isaac was kind of flashed a few times when we talked to him last week. What is, I know the speed, but what is it about him? And I think Maurice said he reminds him of Jaws a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen someone carry the type of velocity that he has through the line of scrimmage, even in high traffic situations. It's special. It's just different when you watch it on tape. I mean, it's like you shot out of a cannon, even when there's like a lot of people around him. And so that gives him the ability to come out of some of those things, those high traffic situations that we were talking about, because he can fit in those small creases. And I think he has really good vision. He sees it very well on the run, full speed, where some guys are a little bit more tempo through the line of scrimmage, where he is going. And he's making full speed reads, and he's up to the safety level before you even blink. And so he's definitely has some electric ability that we've got to find. We got to continue to look at him in some different situations, but he presents an element that I haven't seen in a little while. But yes, Jaws would be probably the fairest comparison because he can go. He can go.
Because you were with Jeff obviously for doing so, what that was like in terms of installing getting guys used to it. I guess how long do you feel like it's going to take here to kind of get where you guys want to be offensively, and how are you so far in that process?
I think the guys are coming along, especially with this quarterback, Tyler. I was telling the guys the way he is able to check at the line of scrimmage and see pre-snap what the defense is trying to get accomplished and make checks and get us into different plays and better protections. I haven't seen that really since I was around Drew Brees in New Orleans, just the ability to see it pre-snap and get us into a better look possibly and things like that. So some of that's his background. And so I think he can help us in that regard. He's a pretty cerebral kid, understands what every receiver and running back is supposed to do, gets the line, he might switch protections and things like that. So definitely from him, he's presented some different things for us to evaluate. But I think from a personnel standpoint, I like our depth. You know, we're working to address a few more things from the offensive standpoint. But I think from a depth standpoint, I think we're about where we are, where we want to be. It's just a matter of guys continuing to get reps and grow more comfortable in the schemes and the system. And we'll continue to grow more comfort as we continue to press through.
Chris, on that note, you mentioned earlier how teams like NC State would try and load the box and kind of force you to pass it. With this team, we have quarterback and wide receiver rooms that kind of will maybe force defenses to kind of spread out and clear out the box a little bit. I remember, I think it was last year you mentioned how when you sat down with Jawar Jordan, you showed him film and he said, "I'm not used to seeing all this space."
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you guys are getting closer to that point where you kind of look at a defensive front and you see them clearing out the box and you say, "Okay, we can have success in this situation"?
I think so. I mean, we're going to throw the football. That's just, you know, our DNA. But we're going to try to be multiple in our approach. In our attack, we want to be multiple. We want to be able to run it and pass it. But, you know, Coach's philosophy is he wants to push it downfield. So, you know, knowing that, I would think that some people honor that and try to create more, you know, space in the box, spread out, try to cover the receivers. A lot of passing game will be coming at you. So, you know, I think that we can see that. Now, early on, I think that it'll be kind of a wait-and-see approach based on how we played in 2023. We're a little bit more run-heavy. So I think that there'll be a little bit of indecision early on for some of our opponents to see how we're kind of operating because we have a lot of new pieces and see, you know, how those new pieces meshing. But I anticipate we'll get some light boxes and be able to have some room to operate.
You have the baby bus, you got Bama. Do you assign everybody else nicknames, or is this kind of...
I have, just periodically, just from time to time as they come up. You know, the young guy, Isaac Brown, I've coined him Mosquito. I don't know why, but he's, I've coined him Mosquito, and he's kind of, some of the guys mess with him a little bit. But no, I mean, as I go, I kind of come up with them.
All right.
All right. Appreciate